Bandwidth for Vagary.tv podcast provided by Cashfly at cashfly.com. That's C-A-C-H-E fly.com.
Hello everyone, welcome to Retrocore Classic Gaming Music, episode number 55. I know it has been a long while since you've heard my voice, or any podcast from Retrocore themselves. Let me do a little quick explanation. I'm in the moving process, I'm still packing, so, it's been about a month or more since we've had a new music show and a regular Retrocore podcast. And you guys have been emailing me, getting a hold of me on Twitter. You want your new music show, so I'm going to take the time to do that today. I was going to try and have Donald Cole, VV from Retrocore Podcast. He was going to take a stab at, doing the music show here and there, but, stuff came up. He got sick. He's redoing his grandma's house and all this and that, so we're all basically busy. I'm moving, but I promise once I'm, settled in, everything will return to normal. The shows will be back, both of them. And everything will be back to normal, so I'm sorry for not having any Retrocore shows out in the past month or more. But, when I get a chance, I'll put together a music show. You guys mean a lot to me, all the fans and listeners, and just getting all the feedback, where's the shows, it means a lot to me. So, this show follows last show's formula. Nobody guessed the last show's song, so I'm going to do one more this show. And if nobody guesses it right, I guess I'm just going to do away with Guess the Song because it doesn't seem to be, as popular as it once was. Everyone just seems to like to listen to their game music. So, alright folks, here we go. I'm your host, DJ Sexy Lips, bringing you the hits of yesterday gaming style. And there you have it, folks. A nice little variety to the start of episode 55. The first song there was Mad Monster Mansion from Banjo Kazooie. That was requested by Bobby. Then we had Sophia's theme from Battle Arena Toshinden 2. Battle Arena is one of the first fighting games for the PlayStation, besides, like Virtual Fighter and stuff like that. When I first got my PlayStation, I had the first Battle Arena Toshinden, and I did rent the second one, and they were good for fighters back then, and it would be interesting to see a revival. And then lastly, we had Future from Socket, the Time Dominator for the Sega Genesis. It is a not very good platformer, but still fun. I have memories with it, and listeners of Retrocore podcast might recall Colin reviewing that, and Colin wasn't a fan of that one. So, all right, well, I got another trio of songs here. Looks to be very, this is a good variety show, so I hope you all enjoy. And looks like a track from Metroid Fusion is next. So, all right, folks, here we go. that song. Such a great song. Just brings back so much memories. But we'll get to that track name in a moment. The first track there that kicked us off was, again, from Metroid Fusion, Underwater Depths, as requested by Magnus Riceboro. Thank you, Magnus. Apologize for the quality of that song because it was a straight Game Boy Advance rip. And yeah, it's just, compressed. Not very good sounding audio on that, handheld, but still good music, just quality-wise is not the best. Then we had Underground Sewers from Batman Return of the Joker on the Nintendo. And lastly, Chocolate Mountain from good old Mario Kart 64. Countless hours lost in that game's multiplayer with countless amounts of friends. Just good old-fashioned, multiplayer, good times without DLC and all that shit bogging us down. So, just great, great times back then for us, Alright, well, it looks like it's Sonic the Hedgehog time, but probably not what you're expecting. So, I am your host, DJ Sexy Lips, bringing you the hits of yesterday, gaming style. if I could do the Bowser laugh, I so would do the evil Bowser laugh. I love that song. It just, I don't know, it's Egyptian-y and badass sounding at the same time to me. So I just love that song. But the first song that kicked us off there was Green Hill Zone, but not that the zone that you might recall. It's from Sonic the Hedgehog 2 on the Game Gear. Yes, Game Gear. In my free time at nights, after packing, I've been playing a lot of Game Gear. I found my Game Gear while packing. And I do have Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and Triple Trouble and all that, so very underrated games. They don't play like their 16-bit brothers, but they still, get the job done and good handheld Sonic the Hedgehog fun. And that was requested by Douglas Carter. That is a name you guys might want to remember here in the future. Hint, hint. Then we had Attica from the Battle of Olympus on the Nintendo. When we finally get to recording the next episode of Retrocore Podcast, we all three, me, Colin, and Donald, will be reviewing Battle of Olympus. Because as you know, once a show, one of us will pick a game that we all play and we all review. And unfortunately, Donald picked Battle of Olympus, and that game is hard. And lastly was Bowser's Theme from Mario 64. Just an awesome, again, badass Egyptian-y sounding song, and it's just good times, good stuff. So we are at the halfway mark of the show, and looking at the rest of my list, I'm gonna go ahead and say that this show isn't gonna be probably as long as normal shows. That is, I am busy. It's 1 in the afternoon right now where I'm recording at right now, and I should be packing because I'm gonna have to start moving into the new house in like 3 days, 4 days tops. So, I do this for you guys and the love of video game music that I love to share. So, but again, the halfway mark of the show, it is time to guess the song. Nobody guessed the last song, so I don't, this will be the last one I do if no one guesses it. So, everybody, you can get a hold of me at retrocore@hotmail.com, or the preferred way is at Twitter. You can follow me there, retrocore_RCVGM, and I do follow back. That's retrocore_RCVGM. So, alright, folks, it's that time again. Guess this song. Alright, folks, you know what to do. Get a hold of me at Twitter or the email address. That, again, is Twitter, retrocore_RCVGM. And the email address is retrocore@hotmail.com. Guess the song correctly, and I'll let you pick 4 songs in a row that I will play in a row. That's all I can offer for now. I'm sorry, it's nothing, huge or awesome or anything like that, but I do promise prizes in the future. They will be coming if Guess the Song survives. And it's up to you folks to guess the song, Like I said, not much entries left. So, alright, well, I have 4 more tracks on this playlist to do. So I'm going to go ahead and play those 4. And then, unfortunately, it will be the end of the show. Like I said, I know it's not as long as past shows, but I am busy. And just I hope you enjoy and forgive me. So, like I said, when I'm settled and moved in, shows will be back regularly, and I'm gonna try and do the music show at least weekly. Retrocore podcast seems to be bi-weekly whenever we, have time to record. So I'm gonna try to get this show back on the road to weekly because I know everyone loves the show, and I don't blame you one bit. And again, thank you guys so much for listening to me ramble on and share the love of video game music. So, alright, folks, I'm your host, DJ Sexy Lips, bringing you the hits of yesterday, gaming style. And with that, that would basically sum up our show. Okay, I guess it's a little bit longer than I thought it was going to be, but still a little bit, about 20 minutes shorter. But there are still a couple more tracks, but the first track to kick us off in that foursome there was Stage 2 from 1943, the NES version that was requested by Ryan Kozar. Thank you, Ryan. Then we had Guile's theme from Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, and that song and version was from the PC CD engine or whatever it's called. So yeah, it sounded a little bit different than your standard Sega or Super, more arcade, high quality music. And I'm sorry about the abrupt cut off there at the end of that song. That's for some reason how it was. Then we had Taking to the Air from the Terminator on the Sega CD. Sega CD was one of the first, to improve audio, to make it, sound real, had real audio to it. And the Sega CD, had good music, and that proved it basically. Taken to the Air from the Terminator again. And lastly, we had Twist and Shout from Vectorman on the Genesis. So, alright, it is the end of the show. I'm doing another Then and Now, because, I love hearing music from back then, and then a new either OC remix or just some random remix on the internet. And today is going to be from Sonic and Knuckles. We have the Flying Battery Zone from Sonic the Hedgehog 3, I'm sorry. Actually, no, that's from Sonic and Knuckles. Wow, I must have done a typo. So yeah, Flying Battery Zone. No, wow, I am so failing. Sonic the Hedgehog 3, Flying Battery Zone. It is from Sonic 3. I'm sorry, folks. Like I just too much going on. I'm sorry. And then we have the Dead Batteries from Sonic the Hedgehog 3, OC remix by Snappleman. So, and it is very, very awesome. One of my favorite OC remixes ever. So, I hope you guys enjoy the show. Stick around. I know there's been a small hiatus, but we are not through yet. Retrocore is going strong, both shows, and we will return. So, I'm your host, DJ Sexy Lips, bringing you the hits of yesterday gaming style. Hello, it's me again. I bet you thought that was the end of the show. Well, I've had this track on my computer for some time now, and I know it breaks my rules of no lyrics, and it doesn't even have to do anything with the video game, but I'm guessing that, I have a huge audience with this show. So I'm guessing that, you grew up about the same time I did. I was born in 83. So I'm guessing you guys, the majority, maybe not all, know, the 1990s cartoons, and Nickelodeon had some pretty popular ones back then, and one being Doug. I don't know if you guys know what Doug is. You can Google it and all that. But there is a song on there called Killer Tofu. So I thought it would be fun, and I'll just see what kind of reaction I get. Maybe I can find old cartoon songs here and there and throw them into the show because they are retro. They're old shows, not games, but maybe in other podcasts. I don't know, but this is just to see what you guys think. So here we are. This is from the cartoon from the '90s, Doug, and it is by the fake band, The Beats, and the song is Killer Tofu. And I promise I am out. So enjoy the show, folks. Goodbye. Killer Tofu!